We're down to it now, the top 5 in the Basketball 100, the book that all of us at The Athletic contributed to. I'm David Aldridge, along with Joe Vardon and Law Murray. We're going down from 5 to 1. You've heard 100 to 6. Send your hate mail to Andrew Schlecht. It is a labor of love and a labor of debate. We understand that. And as I've said about a few hundred times in doing these podcasts with various people over the last year or so, the book is designed for people to disagree. The book is designed for people to argue, because there's no way you can come up with the right answer about anything except that Michael Jordan's number one, which is clear and obvious to anybody that cares about basketball. But we can discuss, and we will discuss over the next few minutes about this list. So we're down to the top 5 as voted upon by the athletic staff. And let's start with the notion of joy. Let's start with the notion of, hey, these are the best of the best of the best of the best. And that should make us happy. It shouldn't make us angry. It should make us happy, because these are the guys that were head and shoulders above everybody else. So let's start with across the way my screen is set up. Joe is next to me and Law is next to Joe. So let's start with Joe. Which one of these guys makes you happy to rank this high?
I guess I would say Russell, because I really like that someone who played so long ago can stand the test of time. Obviously, this is basically a different sport when Mr. Russell was out there winning 12 titles. I believe that's the right number. He was also
11,
a player
11
coach.
and 13 seasons. Yeah.
Okay, 11 and 13 seasons. I never saw him play. I saw Kareem play a little bit, and I was 11 in 1991 when Magic made the announcement that he had contracted the virus. So, he would be, of those three, he's who I remember the most. But it has to be Russell, I think, from a joy perspective, just because, when you have a career and you have a life's work, you want people to be able to remember it, and even for it to transcend, I think, generations in this case. And Russell certainly has been able to do that. He retired when? Late 60s, late 60s,
69.
maybe.
69.
Yeah, 69. Mm-hmm. So, that's a long time to have not played, and to be as I guess as honored and respected as he is still in this game is pretty cool.
Cool. Law, how about you?
By default, it's Michael Jordan, and I say by default because I got into basketball in 1995. That was after Bill Russell, after Kareem Abdul-Jabbar have completely concluded their careers. And when it comes to Magic Johnson, I remember watching Magic Johnson when he came back to the Lakers, but I was too young to watch him when he was Magic for real, like the Magic that we got to see in 1996. That was a different version of Magic. I'm grateful I got to see that version play. Like, that's kind of crazy me looking back, but Michael Jordan, and even with Michael Jordan, it's like, I knew of Michael Jordan even when I thought I would never have anything to do with basketball, like pre first retirement Jordan. I was like, even in kindergarten, people was like, oh yeah, Mike, he had crossed over to the point where a 4-year-old knew who he was. So it was a big deal for me to actually see him come back and to see him ascend the Bulls back to the three-peat that I'm familiar with. The first three-peat, that wasn't a three-peat that I grew up with. I just knew that existed, but I got to see that repeat in real time. I got to see them to see them win 72 games in real time. And I didn't even like the Bulls. I didn't even like Mike like that. I was more interested in being like, man, they always talk about Mike. What they going to say if he ever loses? And that dude never lost.
Never lost. Took care of that.
He was the inspiration for LeVar Ball, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I never saw him lose in the playoffs. Like 95 didn't count to me. So like to actually have him, as a part of my basketball, like coming of age, that is always something that I'm going to really, I'm never going to forget that. Like I knew what people were saying about Mike when he was playing, at least in the second half of the 90s. And that allows me to like, look back 30 years later and it's like, oh, he's at the top. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to debate that. So I don't know if the right word is joy or excitement. Like our producer, Andrew, just, kept it consistent, and I appreciate the consistency, but this list is obviously different than the other lists. This is the top. So
sure,
we knew who's going to be here.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked that these are the top 5.
All right. I'm very glad that Russell's on the list. I don't understand. There's something about people who claim to like basketball. I don't know that they actually do, but people who claim to like basketball that would have a problem with Bill Russell being in the top 5 because he wasn't like a great offensive player, which seems insane to me because he was the greatest defensive force in the history of the game. And the record is the record. If it was easy to win 11 titles in 13 seasons, other people would have done it besides Bill Russell. So there's something singular to Bill Russell's excellence that made that possible. I don't care what era it's in. I don't care if there were plumbers and firemen. They weren't, but I don't care if you think they were. Those were the best basketball players in the world at that time, and Bill Russell dominated all of them, and not just dominated them to a point where he literally was the cause of Jerry West's incredible angst as a human being through the adult portion of his career, because he could not beat Bill Russell's Celtics, no matter what he tried, no matter who he played with. And that's what, when you talk about destroying people, that's what Bill Russell did. That's what Michael Jordan did. That's why they're at the top of the list, because they didn't just beat teams. They destroyed them. They destroyed their mental capacity and will to continue competing against them. And that's kind of the ultimate triumph of an athlete, right? Especially a professional one, because the other guys are getting paid too. And the other guys are getting paid a lot of money, and the other guys are really great players too. But I'm happy that Russell's on the list. But the one that really makes me happier is Kareem, because I think Kareem has simply been forgotten. And I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why. Well, I have theories. But Kareem's just been forgotten by most people, including historians, including a lot of historians who follow the game, who were serious about the game. And part of it is, I think Kareem as a player was not he was not one that cultivated the media very well. He was very standoffish to the media throughout most of his career, did not have much to say to the media. And that was part of it, but that's not all of it. There's a lot of players who were not particularly media friendly. I think part of it is Kareem was not an exciting basketball player. Not the way that LeBron's exciting when he has the ball in his hands, or Michael's exciting when he ends the ball, and Magic was exciting when he was leading the Lakers on the break. Kareem wasn't at all exciting. But as I keep saying, he scored 38,000 points essentially with one shot. He had one thing that he did. He made one career three-pointer in his entire professional career. One.
Wow.
He had one move. Now, he had other stuff. He had a step back, a step through, and he had some other things that he did. But basically, he took the ball over his left shoulder and threw a sky hook at you. And you knew he was going to do it. And everybody in the building knew he was going to do it. And everybody watching on TV knew he was going to do it. And nobody could stop it. Couldn't stop it. And he just kept sky hooking you to death, and did it and scored 38,000 points and set a record that lasted almost 4 decades. So,
I have a question for you.
Yes.
When did Kareem stop being the best player on the Lakers?
That was, pretty soon after Magic got there. It took a year or two. I'd say going to certainly by the time they lost to the Celtics in '84, and this is my opinion, I wasn't covering the league then, but I was watching. Kareem was still the best player, but I think after that, it was clear that Magic was the better player. Not that he was a better player than Kareem, but at the time, he was a better player than Kareem because Kareem was getting older. And Worthy had come along. And so they had multiple best players. Worthy was outstanding. And look at his finals numbers. Don't take my word for it. Just go look it up. Look at what he averaged in finals series. But yeah, I would say mid 80s. And then after that, certainly Magic had taken over and was the guy. But Kareem was still capable. If you watch game 2 of the finals in 85, you know how he was still capable. He just couldn't do it every night anymore. But yeah, so I'm glad Kareem is in the top 3. I know Isaiah Thomas, who I've known for a long time, believes this with all his heart that Kareem's the best player who ever played. And you can disagree with it. I'm not saying you should agree with it. I just know that there are people who are in the Hall of Fame that think Kareem's the best who ever played. And I think the lack of sexiness to the sky hook is what kind of keeps him from being remembered. There's just nothing particularly interesting about that move, but it was the most devastating offensive move in the history of basketball. It was. There's nothing, nobody else did that more often than Kareem shot a sky hook. So I'm glad he's in the top. I'm glad he's in the top 5. I'm glad he's getting his due. Oh, by the way, 6 league MVPs, 1 more than Jordan. So, yeah, I mean, Kareem was just unbelievable. So, because it's a podcast, we have to argue now for a few minutes. So I hope you guys don't mind. It's actually mandated by law now that we have to argue. We're supposed to ask the question, who's ranked too high and who's ranked too low in these top 5, which I think is kind of silly, but because it's 5, it's not like it's not like it's 1 to 40. It's 1 to 5. I don't know. I guess, is this where we talk about Jordan and LeBron for the billionth time? Is that where maybe we do that now, which is fine. We can do it again.
I guess, you said at the top that anybody who likes basketball and is really paying attention has Michael at number 1. There's so many things that are awesome about your career, David, and one of them, of course, is that you actually covered both guys, which is so cool. And then, as you know, every time we get together for dinner, I just ask you to tell as many stories as you can about the Michael days. I am actually I am in the growing minority that lists LeBron above Michael, but I guess where I'm coming from is 2 things. One, LeBron is the star I covered, and so of course there's going to be there's just have a little more access to his game, but also I think that he's had a longer career, and what he's accomplished is either more so minus the titles, and he's got the scoring record, and part of what goes into winning a finals, right, is you have to be the last guy standing, the last team standing, and the healthiest team, and you can't blow an Achilles, and all that stuff. Like so you're rewarded for being able to make it. And so when we say things like, well, LeBron is the leading scorer now just because he played so much longer than Michael. Well, okay, but he gets credit for that.
Sure.
So I guess my argument is now at this point, which is a few years after we all did the book, LeBron's had the better, longer career. And so that's why I say what I say.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Jump in, Law.
My thing with Michael Jordan and just looking at what he was able to do, like his statistical output is crazy. And a lot of that statistical output was before he won championships.
Right.
Like when you look at his 1988 season, and I was looking at that quite a bit because, you know, I had this thing where I loved Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's MVP season this year. You know, I was like, look at the numbers that Shai is putting up, like at this age that he is when Michael was that age. And I was like, man, you can see some similarities, but I'm not doing that for 1988 Jordan when that dude was MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same year as a guard. Like, you can't even be a guard and be considered Defensive Player of the Year now. You know, Marcus Smart got it, and everybody was like, man, he finally did what Gary Payton did. That was damn near 20 years earlier then. Like, like it's the statistical output that was like, I can do this. Like that dude was dropping 30s every season for like 6 years straight. And then translated that into winning at a time where not only did everybody say you don't win with your guard, you know, without a dominant big, like Magic was a guard, but he wasn't guard size and he did have Kareem. Right. Like if he didn't have Kareem, he wouldn't have gone to the Lakers because he would have stayed at Michigan State. Right.
Right.
Like that's another thing we should get into, but it's like Magic was insulated in the fact that he got to start his career winning right away. Like Michael Jordan was playing for a Chicago Bulls team that nobody was talking about in the early 80s. Like that's what y'all tell me anyway. So like,
no, you're right. He was playing with Granville Waiters and
like that's
a great quote.
Like there's something valuable in that. Like he had to create and establish a lot, and then they had to tell him, but you're not winning. And then he won, and then he dipped. And then he came back and was a different kind of player. Like his game was different in the late 90s compared to the 80s. Correct. And he dominated that. That's the mid-range Mike that I'm familiar with. He could still get up and bang every now and again, but like he evolved his game to still dominate at the age that he did, to the point where like Nas stands Mike. The most impressive thing about that is that team was ancient. He was 34, turning 35. And Scotty's back was wearing out, and Dennis Rodman wasn't that dude who could, you know, he could still rebound, but like he wasn't
the defensive force he had been.
He wasn't even starting anymore, you know, at parts of that season. Like there are things that are about to get lost to history because of the era of LeBron. And LeBron has been chasing Mike his whole career. It's been 20 plus years. He's still chasing him. And we can still say that. It's a respect thing. It's an objective statement. Like LeBron can say, like, one of the reasons he still has something to play for. And I feel like one of the reasons Mike didn't play as long and had interruptions in his career is because he won to the point where he felt like he could walk. Yeah. And that is something that I don't know if we could ever feel that way about Bron. I don't know if Bron will ever feel that way, period. I do. I feel like if KD didn't go to the Warriors or Bron really did win 5, 6, 7 with Miami, I don't know if Bron's playing today. I just don't know. Yeah. You know? And so that is something that, again, I feel like I never thought we would lose Michael Jordan to history, but we're going to do, that's going to happen. And it's going to probably happen when Bron is done playing.
I remember very distinctly Kevin McHale saying this one time, and this was 15 years ago. He said, they'll forget about Michael Jordan. And I said, that's insane. How are they going? They're not going to forget about Michael Jordan. He said, you watch, they're going to forget about Michael Jordan. They're going to forget how great he was. And he's right. And they're starting to forget already. I would say this. I've said this again many times in many podcasts. LeBron's got a case now. he's got a case. It's not like you're reaching if you say he's the best player of all time. The thing to me that is what makes LeBron's case compelling to me, as somebody that doesn't even agree with the case but understands that it's a real thing. The thing that is most compelling to me is the 8 straight finals. Mm-hmm. Like, that's impossible. Like, that doesn't. Michael didn't make 8 straight finals. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so no matter, again, you can talk about whatever. You can say the East was weak and blah, blah. It doesn't matter. If it was easy to make 8 straight finals, everybody would be doing it because these are the best players in the world. Okay. Mm-hmm. And everybody's not doing it. One guy did it, him, with 2 different teams, by the way. So that to me is the most compelling part of his case, is that for a decade, he had a chance every year to win a championship. That's Bill Russell territory. Okay. There's very few people that can say that year after year after year. And LeBron can say it because he led his team to 8 straight finals. And that is amazing. Right. And so he's got a case. The longevity piece is certainly a part of it. The excellence during that longevity. At season 22, he's still really good. Like, he's not hanging on at the end, averaging 6 points a game. Like, he's still really good. Like, so, that is incredible to me. And so I don't disparage LeBron. Kareem's got a case. Bill Russell's got a case. But LeBron's got the better case, right? Because of all that what we've talked about. So if it comes down, yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Is LeBron's, I've been thinking about this while we've been talking, and I feel like, but you two might have a better look at this. I feel like of the 5 top players, LeBron's game is the only one that you could drop in any era and he wouldn't have to change at all because of his size and athleticism. Like, he could have played in the Russell era. And of course he could have played in the 80s. Like, he's big and strong enough to be able to withstand that. Of course he could have played in the 90s, and now he's a dominant player. You know, Michael's game is close, but he shot 32% from 3. And he also played in an era where the salary structures were so much different. How would he do in this era when he would command so much money and it would cost against the salary cap in terms of team building? And then the other 3 guys on the list, I mean, the game was different. Like, you could say maybe Magic's game would fit the best now, but, you know, David, at the top, you said that Kareem attempted 1-3 now, you know, in his first career. Yeah. Bigs have shown that they can teach themselves how to do it. Brook Lopez is just one example, but, you know, Joel Embiid is the last center to win MVP. He's a 35, 36% 3-point shooter. So, you know, he and Russell would have to change. So is that part of the discussion, that LeBron's game is the most applicable to any era?
I think. Go ahead. Go ahead, Lon.
Yeah, I would just say, like, the coolest thing about Bron is, as someone who is a high school graduate in 2005, like, the fact that he was told he was supposed to be great in high school because of his physical, you know, the fact that at 18 years old, he looked like a fully formed man already, and he still had physical development after that. And he lived up to all of that.
Sure,
you know, I thought that was the most impressive thing, because any quote unquote chosen ones before him, like Mike, we knew his high school story. He got cut. Right. Bron wasn't getting cut in high school. You know what I'm saying?
It was not.
And that's what it is. Like, you can find people who look like Kareem, who look like Bill Russell. I mean, even with Magic had the size, but he didn't have the athleticism that Bron had. Like, Bron's mix of size and athleticism is truly the most one-of-one thing. And then he combined that with being great as a basketball player, which, I mean, that doesn't always happen. And that's the thing where it's like, his special size and athleticism to go with the skill, and some of the skill had to develop. He wasn't shooting that thing coming straight out,
Right.
like that is what transcends errors. And that's the thing where it's like, when I look at all these dudes and it's like, oh, what could they have done here? It's like Bill Russell, for example. It's like, as we know, he was a great athlete. We know he dominated games with his rebounding and his intelligence and his defense, even to how he blocked shots. Like, he was saying, I can block shots. I'm gonna block shots to start fast breaks. And dudes don't do that enough. They just want to send that thing to the fifth row, right? But what does Bill Russell's ability to make shots from anywhere, how does that translate to different errors? That's probably the biggest demerit to Bill's top 5 case, just because you look at the percentages, you look at the fact that he never dropped 20 a game in the regular season, did a couple times in the playoffs, and you're like, could you really have Bill Russell lead your team in the 21st century? It would look weird, right? I feel like that's the whole, when we talk about error hopping, like, yeah, it's Bron's body combined with his game, and I don't think everybody else has anywhere close to a case like that.
Well, I see I do agree with part of what you're saying. I do think LeBron could play in any era because of his basketball acumen and his size, but so could Magic for the same reason. Because Magic was as cerebral a player as ever lived. And so the fact that he didn't shoot it great would be mitigated by the fact that he wouldn't have to, because he'd be getting layups all the time. Or he'd be diming people up and other people would be shooting wide open threes. I mean, think about that now. Think about Magic in an era when he's surrounded by 3-point shooters and how many assists he would generate. Okay. So, and how many points his team would score. He did that in an era where they didn't shoot a lot of threes. So it was a much more congested paint, right? And he still managed to get incredible amounts of assists every year. To the Michael piece about his 3-point shooting, which a lot of people bring up, I would simply ask this. If Michael Jordan is considered the greatest winner in his era, and was, to Law's point earlier, the best offensive player in the league and the best defensive player in the league in the same season at guard, do we think he wouldn't have become the best 3-point shooter in the league too? If 3-pointers were important back then? He would
have been fine shooting it. Like, the thing with shooting is, look at, and this is the part of the game that it's changed, but it hasn't changed. Like, what's changed is that mid-range to the 3. Like the mid-range was the dominant shot, to the point where, you had power forwards catching it at the top of the free throw circle and shooting it then. And if you see that in 2025, you would think that's just asinine. Insane. Why are you spotting up from the top of the key?
Bill Laimbeer shot. Yes. But
it's like, if you grew up and you watched especially the 70s, when there wasn't no damn 3-point line, but if you watch 80s and 90s basketball, it's like, that's not only how these dudes grew up, but that's how it's like, we're going to get good shots from this area or whatever. Like, that's what analytics is. Analytics is take a few steps back and get yourself an extra point. And so I think when you play the game in a way where it's like, that is not a considerable area on the floor, that's not our offense. It's like, when we watch football and it's like, there ain't a lot of plays for 3rd and 15. Like, I feel like a lot of, not just teams and coaches, when I say teams, I mean the group of guys that you put together to form your roster, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, you can have one guy out of 15 who can shoot the 3. Who cares? Like, that's probably what you're thinking in 1985. But like, now that's crazy. It's like, you can't do it like that. Sure. I think it's like, when that 3-point line moved in a bit, for those 3 years, Michael was a clip just like everybody else from 3. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, the league moved this line in. I think we should probably use it. That's how it was. When it moved back, it was like, let's just go back to what it was. Yeah. I think if Michael came up in this era, he's shooting the three well. Magic came up this era. Look how Magic was like, oh, they're shooting threes a little bit more now, late 80s. And it's like that dude was like a 37% 3-point shooter for a year on pretty damn good volume, especially correlating to his era. That's like, Joe, I love that you brought that up because it's like, we're going to be like, man, like, I think guys get different abilities to play the game based on how the entire league was treating a part of the game. That's why you get the volume of threes that you have now, not necessarily because teams are like, standing out. It's because everyone's a copycat. It's like, well, we can't lose this margin too much. Like, we might as well use this area. You know?
Yeah. And Michael's game was a lot of Michael's game was predicated on drawing fouls too, right? I mean, that was a big part of his game was getting.
Would you call him a foul merchant?
In his way, in his era, sure. Yes. Yes. Right. Like most great offensive players, he knows how to draw fouls. Like, he's good at it. Like, he gets, for whatever reason, he gets the referees to blow their whistle. Like, that's a skill, right? That's a skill because everybody can't do it. And he was really good at it. He wasn't like the best I've ever seen at it, but he was quite good at it. And he would have, I think, as he got older, I think he would have relied more on the 3-pointer if it was a shot that was encouraged to be taken, right? As opposed to what you were talking about, Law, which became just an incredible low post fadeaway jump shooter, like an amazingly efficient low post fadeaway shoot. He became excellent at it, right? Because he couldn't jump as high and he couldn't do it as often as he used to. So all of that to say that I think he would have adapted to the 3-pointer and been perfectly fine with it as he got older. He made 6 threes in the finals in game 2. Come on. Like, it's not like he couldn't do it. It's just that he didn't do it. So anyway, all of that to say, while I do think LeBron's got a case, and I would never tell anybody who thinks LeBron's the best player ever that they're wrong. I mean, I would never say they're wrong to have the opinion. It's okay to have that opinion. I just disagree with it because of what I saw from both of those guys when they were at their absolute best. And when LeBron was at his I would say he was at his absolute best with the Heat, I think is fair to say. I believe it. I think that's when he was at the peak of his game. And they made 4 straight finals and they went 2-2. And they really should have gone 1-3. I mean, honestly, they should have gone 1-3. And they didn't. So I can't demerit him for winning. He won it. They did win it. So, okay. But they went 2-2 when he was at his absolute best. And when Jordan was at his absolute best as a player, he won the first 3, I think, was his peak as a player. He won 3. He went 3-0 and went in fairly comfortably 3-0. Like, it wasn't like my favorite Michael Jordan stat is he never needed a game 7, never needed one in the finals. He was 6-0 with no game 7. And so, I mean, I don't know. I think that is just, I think that's unassailable.
I know that LeBron was at his most athletic when he was with the Heat. I wonder if he was a better player those next 4 years with the Cavs because he was a little smarter and he saw the floor maybe a little better. And then you would say, okay, great. He was a better player when he was with the Cavs and he went 1-3.
Yeah.
But then you start talking about who they were playing against.
That's fair. This is fair. Yes, this is a fair argument.
And that's when we have to say,
yes,
Michael never saw that.
Michael never played the Bulls. I think it's fair to say the Bulls never played a team as good as the Warriors.
I mean, the Warriors were the Bulls.
Yeah, right. Whatever. Yeah, they were the Warriors, right? And so the era is the era. You can only play the teams that are there. You couldn't play the 50 through 65 Celtics. They weren't available to play. So you can only play who's there. But you're right. I think that certainly the Warriors were the best finals opponent between those two guys, right? If you stack them all up. all of the finals teams that Michael Jordan and LeBron James played against, the Warriors were the best opponent by far, right? Like, it's not close. So that is fair. But greatness dictates that you still find a way to beat the team that's their best opponent.
Yeah. I want to say,
part of the challenge.
As the Cleveland guy who was born in the same hospital as LeBron 4 years before him, and the one who's like actually asking questions of probably the greatest player ever in Michael, I do want to say that, you know, we haven't talked about how Michael had that unquestioned killer instinct that LeBron does get questioned about. That's one thing. Michael would stop at nothing to win. And then the other thing that I think is at least still true for anybody my age, and maybe even anyone down to Law's age, and then maybe under Law is where this might change. But like, I think about Michael's impact on basketball, maybe the way I think about Tiger in golf, whereas like when Michael came along and he got to be as good as he was, we as a sports community, we looked at basketball differently. And we haven't really changed how we look at the game, I don't think, since Michael. So LeBron, you could say, well, he's the all-time leading scorer and he went to 8 finals and he, you know, he led 3 different teams to finals. No one's ever done that either. And that's all fine, but he didn't change the way we think about the sport. Mm-hmm. Like, he's the next Michael, you know, like he's the next great Nike athlete with the lifetime contract and the shoe and wearing 23 and all this stuff. But Michael did it first. Like, you know, I just think, again, I think about Tiger, and of course there were great golfers before him. Jack Nicklaus might be better than Tiger, but we look at golf through the prism of what Tiger did. Yeah. And there's a guy right now playing, his name's Scotty Scheffler, who is as like he's reeling off wins the way that Tiger did. But we are nowhere near thinking about golf in the lens of it being Scotty Scheffler's game. He's just being compared to Tiger. And so I think, you know, maybe that's not a great comparison because LeBron has done a lot more than Scotty has done in that sport. But I just do think that until we are able to look at basketball in a lens from other than what Michael did to it, I think that Michael will always be at that top line.
I think the challenging thing that LeBron has is something that DA brought up when he was talking about Kareem, actually, because the best thing that Michael had is that stretch of not being questioned. You know, that's all 6-0 means to anybody. It's a narrative thing to say, with all the great players in the league at that time in both conferences, Michael, when he was at his best, couldn't be touched. Magic made the playoffs every single year of his career, and they lived in the finals. Correct. Even if he was playing with Kareem, like 5 championships in 12 years, and they were in the finals another, I think, 3 or 4.
Three other finals appearances. Yes.
Right. And then you got Bill Russell, who was literally 27-2 in playoff series. Like,
unbelievable.
Literally 27-2 and never lost a game 7. Right. Nope. Like when Michael was like, oh, I don't need game 7s in the finals. With Bill, it was, I need a game 7 and I'm going to win it every single time. Like, that's unassailable.
I think it's 11-0 in game 7s. 11-0.
And so with LeBron, we all know, like, you know, there's finals that he lost. There's times that he was great with that couldn't quite win it. The biggest thing with me in Cleveland, you know, growing up as someone who wanted Bron to win all the time, his first one with the Cavs, because I wanted that for Bron and I wanted that for Cleveland. I had nothing to do with Cleveland. I'm from Philly. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was hurt personally when he couldn't make it out of the East after they won in they won the East in 07. Like that 07 run when he beat up the Pistons, I was like, this is it. And yeah, they lost to the Spurs, but it was like, he's going to get back. And that's when Bron started winning MVPs. But those 60 wins teams kept on not making it out. And that was like, man, you're being questioned. That's why the decision hit so hard. With Kareem played in the dark. First 10 years in the league, he won like 6 MVPs and one title, and that title came in his second year with Oscar, and the whole league was in the dark. The Celtics dynasty was over the day Bill Russell decided he was not only done playing, he was done coaching. He was done with Boston, period. And the league, I just felt like everything that was quote unquote problematic with the NBA or problematic with professional basketball, like the NFL had the Super Bowl, it was taking baseball, it was one-on-one. It's like basketball was lost. It was in the dark. It was many things distracting.
The 70s was an era that nobody talks about or remembers at all.
And Kareem dominated that era, and it was
he was the best player by far. Yes.
Like he gets to Los Angeles in 1976 from Milwaukee. He wins another MVP, and that Lakers team didn't even make the playoffs.
Right.
The ABA was about to fold. Right. Like basketball was in such a weird place that Kareem's greatness should have crossed over so much more, and it didn't because, he was doing it at a time where pro basketball was on life support it's a great point consumption is concerned. That Kareem's that decade, which was Kareem's decade, it's not close. If Bill Walton hadn't gotten hurt, he may have challenged him, but he got hurt, so he couldn't challenge him. But that's Kareem's decade. He was the best player in the league by far in the 70s. and he only won one title, and so nobody remembers, right? For a lot of reasons, but he only won one. So, yeah, I mean, that's he won all of his titles with the Lakers, right? Like almost all of them with the Lakers. So that's fair. That's a fair point to make about Kareem and his era. I don't know that we're going to solve this conundrum anytime soon. But I wanted to close with this because this is about, the end of this book. And I had a different experience than you guys did. But I did want to ask you, like, was there anything that you learned in doing this book or being a part of this book or talking about this book or, about the league or about the players or about yourself, because it was a labor of love to me. Like I really enjoyed doing this because I love telling stories, and I love that younger fans know who Oscar Robertson was and know who Sam Jones was, and know who Dolph Schayes was. You know what I mean? Like because if you love basketball, you love all of it. Right? You should love all of it. At least I think you shouldn't just love the part that you're a fan of. You should love all of it, right? Mm-hmm. Because I revere George Mikan. He saved the league. There'd be no league without George Mikan. You got to respect that, And so I wonder what you guys got out of being a part of this series, and y'all can just jump in anytime you want.
Well, just in listening to the question, I was honored and very appreciative that I was asked to do the LeBron piece. To be a part of a project like this from a company like ours, and we don't need to get into too much patting ourselves on the back, but The Athletic has really become a force, and I think a long time down the road, whatever our company is, people will talk about The Athletic the way they've mentioned, Sports Illustrated or ESPN, like as you go on through. And so for The Athletic to do a top 100 book for basketball, and just to have the privilege of getting to rely on my experience of the last however many years following that guy from Akron, that meant a lot to me. But when you asked me about what I learned, David, again, I mean, just with our conversations, like, that I really kind of appreciate history. Mm-hmm. And so I also got to work with Lenny Wilkins. Mm-hmm. And he delivered groceries to Jackie Robinson, which bowled me over. It gives me goosebumps now just like talking about it.
Yeah.
And then I just had this wild, insane conversation with Rick Barry as he drove across Florida. He was driving from like some golf tournament to some business thing that he had. And we just had this conversation that bounced all over the place. And I never talked to him before. Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if I used everything that we said, but just, it was like an hour that like, it was one of the most unique hours of my life, having that conversation. Sure. And that never would happen without this book. So those are my memories for sure.
Yeah.
Man, I just feel like, first of all, I'm just fortunate to be in a position to, talk about ball, especially with you guys. Y'all have seen like things I haven't come close to seeing yet or experienced yet. And like, when those moments happen, like I'll appreciate it if those moments happen. But like, I just think about how young the league is compared to other sports. Their legends are still here. Mm-hmm. We still have them. We're losing them though. And that is something that I've kind of thought about a lot over the last few years. Like, I wrote the Oscar Robertson chapter. Mm-hmm. And again, that was a responsibility bestowed upon me, which was like, all right, cool, let's figure out how to do this. But there was one guy, I didn't have a relationship with Oscar. I got to meet him 2 years ago after I wrote this chapter, which was really cool. But I did have a relationship with Jerry West. And Jerry West basically helped me write that chapter.
Yeah,
like,
how about that?
I remember I was in the middle of an 8-game road trip. Shout out to the Athletic. I was in the middle of an 8-game road trip and I went to Orlando and sequestered myself in the hotel room. Look, first time in my life I was in Orlando. I wanted to go out and be like, oh, this is where Disney World is at? Like, I had never heard. It was a miss to me. I'm in Orlando. I was like, nah, I got to write this chapter. And Jerry West said he was going to call me. And I was like, he ain't going to call me. Nah, my phone rings and he calls me and he's on the phone with me for an hour talking about a dude that was his contemporary. You know what I mean? I got to write off of that. And I can't do that today. Jerry's no longer with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got a lot of these guys who it's literally living history in this game that we love. And the fact that we were able to put this book together, we got to talk to so many of these guys to talk about their careers and the careers of their peers. And like, I don't know when we'll get to do something like this again. And I don't know who's going to be here when it's time to do that. So that is the gravity of this book. Like, we didn't mess around and just like, I think a lot of us really got a chance to do something cool with this. And the next time we do something like this, I'm sure it'll be great, but it won't be the same.
No, right. What both of you said is so correct. And just being able to lift up people like Oscar Robertson, who's again been forgotten. And, Oscar Robertson touches every part of the modern NBA, every single part of it, from free agency to super teams, to all of it. He touched all of those eras. He's part of all of those eras. I had never met Bob Pettit before. I was doing the Wilt chapter and I talked to Bob Pettit about Wilt Chamberlain. And I was sitting there slack-jawed. Bob Pettit I'm talking to. This is amazing. And just to talk to guys, like to talk to people about Sam Jones. You just are blown away by the connection. To your point, both of your points, like they're still here. A lot of them are still here. And the fact that we were able to touch so many of them directly to get their reminiscence about the game and the league. I have one rule about people. If you like basketball, I like you. If you like the NBA, I like you. That's it. We can coexist because that's my line of demarcation. Because I sucked at playing. I was terrible at playing. I couldn't do anything. But I love the game. Always love the game. And to be a part of this has been a joy. To get back to that word again. And I'm so happy that the people that were contributing to this book felt that same sense of joy, because it's a wonderful game. It's a, without getting too metaphorical, it is the best of what we can be if we decide to do stuff together. Like we can really do amazing things if you do them together. And basketball kind of really touches that, because it's only 5 people. Those 5 people can do amazing things together if they put their mind to it and they sacrifice for one another. So, on that sort of happy note, I think it's a good time to get out. Thanks, guys. Thank you for this. This was great discussion. And once again, book's out there. Buy it. Put my kids through college. Thank you.